Ah, there we go. Sorry, I went to answer a question on chat, and for some reason it removed me from the stage. And I'm good, Dom. How are you today? But I already see that you're doing great. I guess that was a rhetorical question, but I'm doing good. It's exactly what it is. See ya. Hey, maybe I'll get my gameplay today. It's been at the top of the list for 2 days now. Wonder if I'm going to have to review my own game, though. And we will not have Knox accompanying us anymore. Looks like he moved on to bigger, better things. Well, he had an emergency, but he does have other things that he's going into. Oh, he gave me feedback. You do have other turrets. You got 3 of them. I mean, like, hello, Alex. Oh, like Juice got you. Okay. Oh, Alex is muted. Server muted. Let me fix that for him. Hello, Alex. Your microphone is muted. There you are.
This is an outrage.
Goodness. So many layers of security.
This affront my honor will not stand. Good morning after night, everybody. How's it going?
Marvelous.
Manvi is on her way, but she is she's running late, so she'll be here.
Naturally.
It's exactly. I got the Greta treatment today. Okay, so I saw someone ask in the channel. Technically, this is the end of Astro Academy, in the sense that we go from Wednesday to Wednesday, but in practice, always go to the end of the week. So we're going to keep chatting through Friday, and we will have through sometime next week for everyone to wrap up their games. I really want everyone to aim for Friday if possible, but we will continue to kind of check in on. And in fact, I'll have more details maybe tomorrow. I'm still figuring this out. I'm thinking maybe what we do next week is we do a little bit more of an in-depth review of your games, because what we've been doing so far is it's office hours format. People share whatever they feel like sharing, ask kind of random questions. That's all great. But hopefully, we're getting to the point now where everybody should have something playable and hopefully reasonably complete that they can talk about in terms of the lessons they've learned and why they made their decisions the way they did. So maybe next week we'll spend some time reviewing them in more detail. Anyway, which is just a long way of saying that you guys still have plenty of time to work on your games. Hopefully this week is the bulk of it, but if we still want to kind of refine some details or ask some questions next week, that's fine too. So nobody should stress. Okay, other than that, let's see. Chat, what do you guys think? How's everything going? How are lessons going? How's game creation going? Oh, look at that. Parna is here. Great to see you. We are always chatting offline about your games, which have been getting really, really good lately. Great to see you here in person, or at least live chatting. So, like I said, how's everyone doing with lessons, with their games? Anyone having any particular trouble or questions? I got one more kind of overview of a lesson. It's a very short one that I walk through. It's lesson 8. It's a simple one, but no rush. So if you guys have questions or thoughts, let's get those out of the way first. Be Little has been hacked. An interesting update.
New plus, yes, you will lose your leaderboard. Every time you send an update, you will lose persistent saving for the player. You'll also lose the leaderboard. But I
Yep.
promise you that only people that care about losing their position in the leaderboard are 1, 2, and 3. So you're only really going to upset 3 people with that part. But the persistent saving, the
I thought you were
persistent
going to
saving.
say the only people who care about losing their position are losers, but you went a different route. Well, Parney, you are welcome to chat if you'd like. No pressure. No one has to use voice if they don't want to, but everyone is welcome to if we get to your game. Sorry, Toxic. I made a dumb joke about losers, and you were actually finishing your thought about the leaderboard.
Oh, no, no. They got the point. No worries.
Well, so the way it works, and this is something we talk about a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if this changes at some point in the future. Maybe not changes, but gets a little bit more nuanced. Currently, we have a very, very simple policy, which is that if the game changes, the leaderboard is reset. The thinking being that if you change your game, it may in fact invalidate the leaderboard. There could be all sorts of reasons why the leaderboard numbers don't make any sense after your game is updated or maybe aren't fair. Like if the game gets much easier or much harder, it's weird to compare scores on the same leaderboard from before and after a change like that. Still, though, it is annoying because it is, of course, possible to update your game in a way that has no impact on the leaderboard. So we may at some point test a feature in which the leaderboard can be updated without that happening. I'm just sharing some thoughts we've had. It's not an actual roadmap feature yet. But with Andre doing a lot of AMAs and putting out creator surveys, this is the kind of information we'd love to get from you guys. So if this is a seriously requested feature, it's something we'll consider.
Also, generally on most games, mostly Steam, Epic, PC games, console games, whenever an update is pushed, it usually generally invalidates your save file, and you do have to start over whenever they push major updates. So it's not something that's technically kind of new to the development or game industry, but it is quite annoying.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but it is something that there may be some flexibility on in the future. In the meantime, don't count on it just because who knows? I don't want to make promises, but if it does update, we'll of course let you guys know, and that'd be kind of exciting. Okay, so anything else? Anyone else have any thoughts on the lessons or the games they're working on? Or even, something we didn't talk about as much as maybe I would have liked is the game design document, which is linked, I think, in lesson 2, and you use this template throughout the rest of the lessons. So anybody have experience with that? Anyone have trouble using the document or, yes, Belittle says the GDD is worth it. The GDD is worth it. If anyone hasn't gone through the exercise yet, I highly recommend them. I use them myself. The reason being that no matter how experienced you are, it's not just something for beginners, it's for everybody. And in fact, I actually think the better you get at making games, the more use you get out of a GDD because it helps you organize thoughts, it helps you think through things before you waste a lot of time trying to do them in person. And the better you get at game creation, the better you get at making plans for games. So it's a really, really important thing to do. I mean, professionally made games by big studios still involve GDDs and a lot of documentation. So Toxic made the comparison between our leaderboards and like Steam and stuff, and it's also true with things like the GDD. We try to adopt sort of industry practices wherever it makes sense. We generally don't just invent our own way of doing things unless it's very specific to either the data we see on our platform or specific to the AI workflow as opposed to a more traditional workflow. But everything else we try to do by the book so that the skills you guys learn in Astro Academy are not just, us trapping you, but you're actually learning how games are made. You guys are just, you happen to be using AI, but the actual process and the thinking is really identical to if you were making a game that you were coding by hand, kind of the old school way. Okay, so let me jump into a lesson that I want to review with everyone. It actually builds on this comment about the game design document. I encourage everyone to keep talking, asking questions. If you have thoughts, I'll take breaks throughout this. It's a pretty short one. It's much more high level than some of the other lessons. But just let me know if you guys want to double click on any particular topic, and then we'll do some playtesting. By the way, I believe my internet is much more stable today. Yesterday, I was in a different location. So hopefully we'll have no interruptions, and especially once Monvi gets here, me, Monvi, and Toxic can all kind of take turns playtesting your games. And I am looking forward to making good on my eternal promise of being a little bit faster so we can get through more games. So guys, please hold me to it. Grill me if I take too long, especially Toxic. We know how he loves to go deep on the details.
Deep. Way too far.
Way too far. Yeah, Toxic's the only guy where you're going to say, so I have some feedback on level 17's tile in the third row from the bottom. So let's spend 20 minutes unpacking how you can make that better. But you know what? It comes from a place of love and passion and commitment to detail. So we should all be grateful we have someone as obsessive as Toxic, because I think you can't make good games without a little bit of obsession. DJM knows what we're talking about. All right, I'm going to I always hype up DJM as if he's like this waking embodiment of genius. And then when he gets on the mic, he's like, hello, it is good to talk to you. And then that's it. He's so chill for a guy that is just like destroying the leaderboards with his like amazing games every time.
DGM games are off the charts.
He did it again. He did it again. He makes this World Cup game. He takes this insane gamble, making this hugely complicated game, and then out of nowhere, he just releases it, and within like 30 seconds, it's on player's choice. The guy has just got the touch. Some people have the touch.
That's too much.
That's why I can do a terrible cartoon impression of his accent, and he doesn't mind because he knows he's got genius status. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Oh, and we got Andre here. We have Astrocade AI developer Andre. As always, here to answer your questions about the product or whatever else you may want to throw towards one of our tech gurus. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and do a... sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself. DJM, it's not luck. If you look at your games, if you made 50 games and 5 of them got big, sure, that's luck. But you're pretty much 1 for 1, buddy. No one's buying your false modesty talk. Okay, so you guys are hopefully seeing lesson 8. So this is a quick one. It's like a nice wrap up of everything we've learned. But I mentioned earlier I was talking about the game design document and stuff like that. And a related document that you can all access by clicking this link is this game design checklist. And this file is effectively just a summary of everything you learn at Astro Academy put in one place so that as you're working on a game, it's even got links to the individual lessons, by the way. But as you're working on a game or after, and I recommend both during and after, don't just do it once at the very end, you can kind of gut check your decisions. Like, are you following all the general best practices that we recommend? And I always add this little caveat, which is maybe you don't want to follow some of these practices. Maybe there's a reason you want to break one of these rules. That's your call. Like, we're not going to make a blanket statement that you must do things this way. But what I do strongly recommend is that if you are going to break any of these rules, and again, we don't really make these up, these are mostly kind of game design best practices, break them deliberately and break them for a good reason, right? Like don't fail to do something that's considered a good practice and then rationalize it after the fact. You should have a good reason going in of why I'm choosing not to do this or I'm choosing to do that differently. So at the end of the day, it's your game, but we present these as guidelines that are generally going to make your game more successful, provided you follow them, reasonably. But there's always reasons why some brilliant kind of creative decision violates some of these rules, and there are times when that's the way to go. So we want to make sure you guys always feel free to be creative, even when there might be a reason to do otherwise. But generally speaking, I don't want to overcomplicate things. Most of the time, these guidelines will serve you pretty well. So this final lesson is an example of a game that has actually been out of the player's choice for a while, but a couple months ago, this thing was one of our top performing games. It's called Perfect Brew Cafe. It's a very subtle cat pun. I'm not sure if any of you guys actually pick up on it. It's really hard to miss. Sorry, it's easy to miss. But Perfect Brew Cafe is a cat-themed kind of cafe diner time management simulation game from a creator, Dawn, who is kind of like DJam, who just cranks out great games. There's a few people, Dawn, DJam, and a few others, where I recommend just going to their profile, looking at all their games, and just trying to get a sense of the decisions they make, because they're really good role models to follow. So this lesson is, I'm catching up on the chat about the role of luck. Anyway, this lesson here is basically just a summary of what makes this game good and how you can pretty much map on all the major decisions in this game to the lessons in Astro Academy. So after having gone through all the lessons individually, this game is like an example of how all they come together in practice and how you can hopefully take some of these ideas and decisions and apply them to your own games, and even more hopefully have some of the success that people like Dawn and DJM have. Okay. Let's jump in. So this is what I call a brilliantly executed cozy cafe sim. The first and most important thing is that it has an excellent FTUE and TTF. As I hope everybody recalls, these are two terms that come up during Astro Academy. FTUE means first time user experience, and TTF means time to fun. So FTUE is basically, if I'm brand new to your game, what do I get for the first time moving through it? How does the game get me into the fun part of the game, explain things to me, get me, playing the game effectively? How does it do that as smoothly and quickly as possible? And then TTF is essentially a measurement of the FTUE, and it measures how long it takes in seconds from the time the game starts to the point that the player is realistically going to be doing something fun. And the shorter that period of time, the better. What's great about this game is it's really good at both. So it starts off, and I recommend playing this game. Maybe Pika, I don't know if you have a link. I can try to find it afterwards. I recommend playing it yourself and figuring it out. But you can see even in these screenshots that when the game starts, it's really, really straightforward. You've got this glowing patch of the cafe that you are instructed to sort of walk into. It gives you some really basic controls about, arrows, which you probably don't even need. If those were gone, it would probably still be fine. But you'll notice there's almost no other distractions. Other than a little score counter for coins, there's really nothing else competing for my attention. It's really just the one place I'm supposed to go to start the game. So as I point out here, it's not just that the game is easy, but it gives you kind of fun things to do. So when the game starts, you have to go create the first table in your cafe. And the way you do that is by walking into this yellow square, spending $15 that you already have. The game has set it up for you to kind of just easily do this. And then as you deplete that money, the table kind of pops into existence. Now, didn't have to work that way. The game could have just put the table there automatically. Nothing is like functionally different between the table already being there and you making it. But this kind of ties into the guaranteed win concept that we talk about in Astro Academy, which is giving the player something to do immediately that makes them feel like they've accomplished something. So rather than the table just existing automatically, the player is given this very simple and almost effortless decision to just walk to the right place, spend a little bit of money, and equip their cafe with the first piece of equipment that you need. So you actually feel like you're involved in the game, even really before you know what you're doing, which is, I think, a really, really interesting decision and something that almost every game could probably benefit from. Before you get to the real point of your game, so to speak, give the player something fun and simple that just gets them in the flow of things that they don't even have to think about. This game is a great example of doing that. So what do you guys think? I'm catching up with the chat. Samson says, title screen not preferred. I'm making a title screen. So title screens are an interesting edge case. There's no reason to not have a title screen. Like they're not going to hurt your game or anything. What you might want to think about is in the grand scheme of your game's for opening experience, how much else is going on? So for instance, do you have a title screen, but do you also have like a personal logo screen, and do you make the player fill out some settings, and do you make them choose their language, and blah, blah, blah. If there's like 5 or 10 steps to get your game started, you might want to pull the title screen out of it, because then you're just adding even more friction. Whereas if your game just has a title screen and then drops you right into the action, that might be okay. Also, there are a lot of ways to incorporate title screens into the gameplay itself. So if you really want to have a title, but you don't want to slow the player down, some games even put the title screen into the game world. It'll kind of scroll around as the player moves, and then it fades away after 10 seconds or something kind of fun like that. So there's a lot of ways to think about title screens. My advice is, on the one hand, keep the friction as low as possible. Leave as many steps out as you can. But if you want to include something for just fun or vanity or to show off a little bit, make it simple, make it one click to close it, or even better, maybe even incorporate it into the gameplay itself. Then you can kind of have the best of both worlds.
So I use title screens too to hide loadings. And it's the first thing the player sees. Of course, like Alex is saying, if you have some kind of splash screen or extra fluff that's coming before it, then maybe not. But I feel it's a landing page, and not only is it a landing page, it's your first place to make an impression on the player for your game. And I like to do cool effects, like my main menu exploding and flying away, or like Alex is saying, having the gameplay in the background. But for me, it's the first thing the player sees, and it's a good opportunity to hide a lot of loading in your game.
That's a great point, and I hadn't even gotten to that, but you said it better than I was going to say it, actually, which is you can just merge the two, because a lot of games have to have a loading screen, and I see this question in the chat saying, should I create a loading screen? Provided there's something to load, then the answer is absolutely create a loading screen. We talked about this yesterday. A big mistake you can make, and take it from me because it's a mistake that I've made, is is having a long download time that doesn't have a loading screen. Because the problem with that is that people then don't know what's going on. They don't know if the game crashed. They don't know if there's something broken about it. But if you have a loading screen, then those first few seconds of downtime, which is not fun, but at least people know what they're waiting for. And then what Toxic is suggesting is a step beyond even that, which is turn your loading screen into a title screen. If they have to wait for a few seconds anyway, why not just make that your title screen? Now, there's one tiny nuance there, which is you want to be careful. Exactly. We can all make Windows XP. But one thing to be careful about, which is if your title screen involves heavy graphics or assets or whatever, those themselves have to be downloaded, right? So if the idea is that your title screen helps to take some of the focus off your loading screen, that's great. But if you have to download like a big title graphic, it actually might defeat the purpose and only make your loading screen longer. That's something for you to experiment with. I'm not going to give you guys like a black or white answer. Just be aware that that's an issue. But there are a lot of cool ways to make a title screen that don't involve heavy downloading. And if you can combine that with a loading screen, that is absolutely the best of both worlds. However, sorry, say that again.
No. I was going to say also loadings or your title screens or your main menu screens can also act as that security bridge to allow audio or music to be played immediately when you go into your game. So if you have a main menu that has a start button, when you click that start button, all of the audio in your game or video will be allowed to play and doesn't have to have security approval. So that's the other reason why I add
interesting.
main menus.
Yes, that's a great point. That's a really subtle but really important point that often trips people up. I still get tripped up by it sometimes. When you're playing a game in the browser, it is often required that the player actively click something before audio can start playing, which makes sense. We none of us want our web browsers to just blast us with music or sound we didn't ask for. So a lot of browsers are set up so until the player actively clicks, which is interpreted as like a permission granting, audio is disabled. So Toxic makes another great point, which is that if they have to actively click like a play button, then that can essentially get you over the hump of permissions and now audio works in your game. So excellent point. Okay, so I see there's a lot of discussion of drowning people in the chat, which is great. This is totally on topic. Well, you want your FTUE to drown the player with excitement and fun. So I'm glad you guys are staying on topic. That's awesome. Okay, so to wrap up the title screen thing, this game, Perfect Brew Cafe, does not have a title screen. In my opinion, in this game, that works really well because the game loads super fast. It downloads quickly. And in fact, that's the next thing I was going to say. This game is an excellent example of lazy loading. It downloads super fast. Using the 3000 kbps throttling that we talked about yesterday, it downloads in under 2 seconds. It is just lightning quick, right? But you'll notice that the way they do that is when the game first loads, notice it is not fully beautified yet. The grass isn't there. The hardwood texture is not there. All these little ornaments in the restaurant are just boxes, right? And even the coin, or rather, I guess it's this player avatar thing, is not yet loaded. Now, what they decided they have to have is a version of the player, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a second. So the player is visible from the very beginning, and they had to have enough time to, I guess they wanted the coin. I'm actually not sure they needed the coin, but for whatever reason they did. But if you play the game and you play it on the really slow internet throttling, you'll notice that the player does load before the game starts, but not fully. You can't see it here, sorry, it's a still picture, but the player is animated. So when the player is both idling or walking around, there's this cute little kind of sprite sheet animation. That takes a little bit more time to download. So there is also a smaller single frame version of the player that doesn't animate at all. And that loads first. So when the game starts, you get a little preview of what the player looks like. So you kind of know where you are on the screen. It doesn't animate. And as you can see, everything else is missing. But within a matter of seconds, these things download, the animation kicks in. The beauty of that is you're already playing the game at that point. So even though it does look a little rough for a few seconds, it doesn't block you from playing, which is a huge improvement over just a loading screen that takes another 5 seconds, which a lot of people don't have the patience for. So this game is a masterclass in lazy loading and how to make a game become playable in just like 2 seconds and then look beautiful in another 5 seconds or however long it takes for you. Pika says mock-up UI the wireframe. Pika, explain. Tell us more what you're talking about there. And then Alex says, I heard that loading screens sometimes are probably like fake or made longer for psychological reasons. That's an interesting question. I think for the purposes of Astrocade, I would highly, strongly advised not to do that. I don't think there's really anything to be gained by stretching out your loading screen. If anything, it really is the opposite. The psychology that we're working against is the psychology of impatience and boredom and feeling like you can play any game you want, which you can, because Astrocade, everything is just a swipe away. So your biggest goal is to ensure the player feels like they're on the ride. They're not waiting. Things are already moving. However you do that, it's very important that you try to convey that feeling. Because if they feel like nothing's happening, I give it literally 2 seconds of just downtime, maybe 3 or 4, before they're like, screw this, I'll play something else. And then Toxic shares a great example of the game playing in the background of a menu. His game Ragdoll Dismount really is a good example of this. The title screen looks super professional. It's just nice looking on its own, but it does not give you the impression that you're waiting. You can actually see the living game world in the background, which is a nice touch. I see. So Pika says the assets that has a placeholder, a part of the UI that appears first, and the assets load after. Yeah, I mean, this is basically how lazy loading works, which is you want your game to look and feel playable before all the assets are there, because the structure is probably more important than the details for at least the first few seconds. You don't want it that way forever. But the first few seconds, it's fine if things just look like a roughed out placeholder. Most players will kind of get it. And in my opinion, it's very unlikely that a player is going to judge your game that fast. If 30 seconds later it still looks incomplete, then they're probably going to think your game looks janky. But if for the first few seconds, especially if they can see things popping up, it's like a web page. Web pages download, piecemeal. We know they're not going to all pop up in a nanosecond. And then I also like what B Little shares. There's a lot of ways to make loading screens kind of fun. I can pull it up in a second. My Lemonade Squeeze game. As it's loading, there's a lemon that appears that squeezes, and there's like droplets coming out of it, like it's actually squeezing juice while the lemon. Sorry, I almost said lemon screen while the loading screen is going. And I think a lot of games can find fun ways to incorporate those kinds of animations and stuff. All right. Core mechanic and juice. So the game itself is a very, very simple kind of core mechanic. Simple to describe. I mean, you could argue it's simple. It's still kind of complicated, but the concept is very, very simple, which is we've all seen games like this, and hopefully you've played this actual game here, but you have customers lining up or queuing up, as some of our international guests say. I'm very American-centric. I say dumb American things, but I try to spice it up every now and then by saying queue instead of line. So the customers are queuing up. One will walk up to the table, basically place an order, which means an icon appears above their head, and then your job is to walk over to a coffee machine, stand there for a few seconds while a bar fills up, bring it back to the customer, drop it off, collect some money, and then repeat the process. So it's a really, really simple core loop. And if you haven't played a game like this, you might be surprised. It's like surprisingly fun. It sounds super simple, but it's actually pretty fun. But what makes it really good is that there's a great balance of the core game mechanic itself and a certain amount of juice. So you'll notice, again, it's kind of a janky animated GIF, but you get the idea. You don't just move back and forth in a completely abstract way. There's little details everywhere that bring it to life. So there's really cute animations for the character walking, using the coffee machine, et cetera, et cetera. And the customers have animations too. So everything feels very alive. It's not just static images kind of sliding around the screen. They really look like characters. And so even though the game loop is pretty simple, because they all feel like these cute, realistic characters, you get sort of drawn into them, right? So game mechanics, and we've talked about juice. This is a great example of how those two things can go together. Because what you will also notice is there's not a lot of juice that is unrelated to the game mechanic. So for instance, you could imagine, I don't know, like I'm a huge fan of day and night cycles. I think they look really cool, but they didn't bother with something like that in this game. And honestly, I don't think it needs it. Things like weather effects might have been kind of fun. Like maybe there's like drifting kind of like pollen or like moving sunlight or more elaborate shadows. Stuff like that could have been really cool. But if you look at this game as it's being played, you don't really need it. Like you're mostly focusing on the characters and how they interact. And that's where the designer put their effort. So it's not like there's a bunch of beautiful stuff happening in the background. I think beautiful backgrounds are great, but they focused on what's in the foreground. And I think that's usually a pretty smart move. So if you're working on your own game and thinking, where do I want to add the most juice and effort and effects? Then my advice is focus on the thing that the player is going to be looking at the most clearly and cares about the most, and make that the target of all of your juice and refinement and polish. Does that make sense? What do you guys think? By the way, Monvi's here, so Monvi can also help us play test games in just a minute.
Yep.
Welcome, Amvi.
Thank you so much. And Alex, I understood everything you just said.
Excellent. So glad to hear that. Okay. So then there's the progression of the meta. So we're kind of just going lesson by lesson, right? So just to recap, great FTUE and TTF, really simple, really low friction. Download super fast, great core loop, and just the right amount of juice, right? So then the next question is, well, what happens over time? So the game is easy to get into, it's fun to play, it looks good, but if I'm going to play the game for 5 or 10 minutes, what's going to keep me hooked, right? So this is where it gets pretty straightforward, and a lot of your games are already doing this. As you go back and forth serving customers, you're making money, right? And so the progression is basically what you spend that money on. And that means you can increase your ability to carry stuff, you can carry more drinks, you can speed up your ability to move around or to make the drinks, all the things you need to kind of keep up with the customers faster. And you can also pay for like more upgrades. You can buy more coffee machines. You can I think you can buy machines that offer different kinds of products, like it's not just coffee. And so over time, even though the core loop doesn't really change, you can build up the restaurant that you're operating to become more and more impressive and more detailed and something that you're kind of proud of. I mean, it's not a real restaurant, but in a weird way, it kind of feels like you've actually accomplished something because this game makes it very easy to keep that loop going and spend the currency you make on things that make the game feel more deep and more personalized. Like by the end of it, it's like, it's not just a restaurant. It kind of feels like your restaurant or your coffee shop or whatever you want to call it. I think anytime you can give a player that feeling, like they've actually done something or built something or discovered something, that's amazing. That's a really good feeling for a player to get. I think this game is a good example of it. And I highly encourage you in your own games, ask yourself, what is the feeling I want people to have? I mean, fun is obvious. Everyone knows a game should be fun. But like, what kind of fun? You know, blowing something up is one kind of fun, but building a coffee shop is totally different, but it's also a kind of fun. So my advice is think about positive emotions you want players to have. Like I said, creation, discovery, achievement, and actively think of ways your games can make people feel like that. So that's it. Like I said, this is a pretty high level lesson, but if you just go through this list, you'll see that Perfect Brew Cafe, again, very, very subtle cat pun, is an example of how when you put all these lessons together, it's not a guarantee your game is going to blow up, but I will say this much. It is a guarantee that your game will not fail for the reasons that many, many games fail. There are other reasons a game can fail. Maybe your idea is just not interesting to people. But as far as execution, the Astro Academy lessons are designed to ensure that there are at least 8 big reasons, or 7, however many lessons there are. Call it 7 big reasons why games commonly fail that you can almost guarantee will not apply to your games. There's still a lot of uncertainty beyond that, but at least those 7 big killers of games, and I've experienced a lot of them myself, will hopefully not apply to your game. Now, beyond that, there's still a lot to figure out. What makes your game unique? What makes it fun? That's a whole separate conversation. But at least by following these rules, you can rule out a lot of ways that games can accidentally sabotage themselves. And I think this game is a great example of how the creator basically did all that, and they have a lot to show for it. This game spent months in the player's choice, and I can look it up and we can check it out in a second, but I'm sure it has well over 1 million plays, and it's earned them. So good example to follow. Okay, so other than discussing Neil deGrasse Tyson's reputation, what does everyone think of all this?
I think this is good stuff. Hopefully we
All
weren't
right.
being too distracting. I apologize.
No worries, no worries. I see Alex posting a headline that says, indie game devs confirm that loading bars are totally fake. First of all, who knows what the motivation for that is, but I can guarantee you if your game is running on a web portal like Astrocade or even other sites like Crazy Games, faking a loading screen is basically sabotaging your own game. One of the first guidelines for all these sites is get the game to load as fast as possible. So there could be reasons why if I'm playing a game on PlayStation, they want to keep me on a loading screen. I don't know why, but I guarantee you do not want to do it on a web-based game.
I mean, if you were incorporating your tutorial, let's say on your loading screen, then maybe I could understand extending the how long the loading screen is viewed for, and then maybe faking the rest of the loading bar to make it look like it is. But yeah, I think here on Astrocade, you're just asking for problems.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Before we move on, does anybody have any questions, thoughts, or whatever else about this lesson, or because we're at the last lesson here, any of the other lessons? Now is a great time to ask if you do. And if not, Pika, I believe, has put together a list of Astro Academy games that we're going to look at. And then we'll also mix in some non-Astro Academy games for playtesting. Alex says, wait a sec. So I say to Alex, no worries. What's up? What's up, doppelganger? Manvi is trying to create a final confrontation between good and evil. Axel versus Alex. Light versus dark. Yeah, I really made a strategic mistake by lowercasing my name. I created a power vacuum, and capital A Alex swooped in, saw the opportunity. I think I have to escalate things by making my name all caps. I think I have to assert my dominance. What do you guys think? Exactly.
What comes after that?
Exactly. That's the question. That's how arms races go.
All right,
Okay, Alex,
so
the meta thing ties to the meta core mechanic of the previous lesson. Yeah, whenever you hear the term meta, it really just means the same thing. The core loop, the core game mechanic, whatever, is essentially the thing that the player does every second, second to second to second. So in the case of B-Little's animated GIF, if you're just endlessly swinging a lightsaber around for no reason, that's the core loop. But the meta loop is like what happens over time. So if I'm spinning my lightsaber around for no reason, but every 5 seconds I get a coin, then the meta loop becomes basically raising coins by spinning my stupid lightsaber. And then maybe every 2 levels, I get an opportunity to upgrade my lightsaber color based on how many coins I've raised. So core loop is what the player is doing moment to moment. Meta loop is what keeps them focused on the next step or the next chapter of the game. They're earning something, they're unlocking something, they're discovering something, whatever it may be. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, please let me know. While you guys are doing that, by the way, I will grab the next game to play because, as always, your boy Pika has been setting up everything we need to do a smooth office hours, and I'm going to put all the effort I can into still making it unprofessional, despite his help. Pika, let me know, is the next game Samsung's game at the bottom of the first page? Because I see the other ones are crossed out. Okay, Pika has confirmed our first game. Alex says his keyboard is a little bit broken. That probably explains why he has the capital A. I think it was a mistake. He was trying to be deferential and do all lowercase too, but he accidentally had a caps locks error, and that's why he's capital A, Alex. Okay, cool. So I think we're in good shape. Let's jump into some playtesting. Voxel Fruit Merger. We've seen this game before. I was a huge fan of it when I first saw it. I think some of the feedback, I'm just going to try to remember this before I even play the game, see how far I get. If I recall, the feedback was that it looks great. It plays really well. I think one of the suggestions was to add something that was maybe a little bit more novel, because even though it's really beautiful, the gameplay was fairly typical for this genre. So let's see. But first of all, look at this. Speaking of title screens, what a beautiful title screen. You'll notice there's also a loading screen. It probably wouldn't be a terrible idea to maybe find a way to combine the two, but this is the comment I made earlier. All of these beautiful title screen graphics take time to download. So you can't just make this the loading screen because this itself has to be loaded. But whatever, I think it looks great, and I think you can decide whether it belongs in your game or not. Also notice that they've incorporated the leaderboard into the title screen. So this could be arguably a good reason why having a title screen adds value to your game if the leaderboard is a big part of it, because now I know as soon as the game starts, this game is a score-intensive game where my score is really important. Either way, it looks great. I tend to get very forgiving about the lessons of Astro Academy as long as your games look good, so keep that in mind. It's arguably a contradiction of everything I'm trying to teach you guys, but when something is pretty enough, it's like, I don't even care. This just looks really good. All right, let's get in. So, as you may recall from last time, this is a really beautifully done, like voxel-based fruit merging game. It's got this great like physics and cool animation, and it just all looks incredible. Something I was curious about, and if, by the way, Samsung, oh, you're here. go ahead and jump in, please. As we're talking, you are welcome to join the chat.
Yeah, I'm
Before I even
here.
get into my thoughts, why don't you just walk us through where the game has gone since the last time you shared it?
So the fruit was dropping in only 2D plane before, although the assets are 3D.
Yep.
Now you can drop into entire container in 3D plane.
Awesome.
So that's a one change. And then you can actually now keep pressing it to drop continuously without really
Or
thinking
fruit
so
rain.
much.
So
Yeah,
doesn't that kind of take out the thinking that's involved, or the
I know.
strategy that's
So I
involved?
don't know
Exactly.
if that was a good direction.
Guys, thinking is always the enemy. Anything you can do to turn your brain off is worth doing. So I applaud this decision.
I feel that if you want to do this, you should turn it into a power up, but it only lasts for a certain amount of time.
Ooh, that's a cool idea. But you know what,
And-
though?
yeah.
Before. Sorry, I have one quick thought on this. Let me. Curious what all you guys think about this. It's not necessarily a good thing, right? Because it's possible that I just fruit rain myself into like a log jam that ruins my game. So it kind of cuts both ways. Like I'm doing okay, but look what I fruit rain myself into. Game over, or I think, right? Maybe not. But I think though that it's not just a yeah. See, look, I just whoa, look at this. When the game is over, it gets smashed into. Ooh, you know what though? Okay, sorry, I got to say it. I think this is a missed opportunity. When the game is over, that should have become juice, right?
Literal
Right, yeah.
juice.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This game is missing juice. You got to add juice, man.
Okay.
No, I kid because this game has a ton of the metaphorical juice, but it is completely lacking in the literal juice that it really set me up for.
Artian put a meme up there, and I actually was thinking that before he put that up there. What if that was a blender instead? And instead of the thing coming down, it kind of
Well,
just
you may notice our
blended
own, I
everything.
believe it was our own Plankton Fun who made a game
Yeah.
that was basically a smoothie game to that effect. And that game was very popular, so not a bad idea.
So I have a question. So in this case, because this game already had very bad metrics, it's not getting the feed. So
Oh,
maybe
no.
I should copy it and then do the changes, implementing like the mixers and stuff. That's better than just changing the game and publish it.
Well, but
within
before
this
we get to that though, what are the metrics? Like, what are you finding? If you actually, is there any chance you can share your screen and show it to us? If not, I can try to pull it up myself.
Just posted a screenshot in chat.
I'm also recording the session, so I don't know if I can.
Oh, no worries. But if you said there's a screenshot in the chat of the metrics.
No. I was saying, or you could.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, how about this? I think I can pull it up, so don't worry about it. I'm going to use my super secret AstroCade dashboard that lets me spy on all of you guys while you're sleeping. Let's see. Okay, so voxel fruit merge. Oh, whoops, wrong button. Analytics. All right. So by the way, it's not on my screen. I'm keeping this hidden just for the sake of discretion, but I will read you the gist of it. All right, so here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing very few 0 to 10 second gameplay sessions, which is good. What that means is that people are not, sorry, I'll go back to your game screen. What that means is that people are not dropping off in the first 10 seconds. So even though there are a lot of really beautiful assets here, it does not look like download time is a problem for you. So that's good. We can pretty much rule that out, right? Okay, next. Is this, okay. So I see a ton in 10 to 30 seconds. In fact, 10 to 30 seconds might be the second highest. You get a lot in 30 to 60. So it looks like 30 something percent of your game sessions are in the 30 to 60 second range. And about 25% are 10 to 30 seconds, okay? Now, there are some good signs. You have 25% or so 1-2 minutes, and you have almost 16% 2 to 5 minutes. Those are pretty good. But unfortunately, your P50, your median playtime is 48 seconds, which, yeah, that is definitely on the low side. And your P75 is only a 128. So just to recap, these numbers are not meant to be taken totally literally, but they're just to give you like an intuition. A really good median playtime is about 1:20. Anything over a minute is considered decent, like reasonable, and then 1:20 is when you're getting into like really, really successful territory. And I think 75 really, really good is considered like 3 to 4 minutes, and like solid is somewhere around 2 minutes. Unfortunately, this game has a 48-second median playtime. and the P75 is only 120. So when you look at your breakdown, this 25% of games that are 10 to 30 seconds, I think that's what concerns me the most, because what that tells me is that a pretty good chunk, a quarter of all of your players, are moving on within 30 seconds. So actually, let me take back one thing I said. Do you know, Samsung, how long does your game, Damson, do you know how long your game takes to download on like a slow internet connection? Have you done that test?
Not with this one. I only realized how to do that simulation yesterday. So
Okay. How about this?
I
Let's
only
do it.
did it on a few games, but not on this one. But
Let's
I'm
try it.
interested to know, yeah.
Yeah, let's test it out. Here's why. Because at first I said because there's not a lot of there's very few 0 to 10 second play sessions. That means download is probably not the biggest issue. But it actually doesn't rule out downloads altogether, because we recommend your downloads be done within 10 seconds. If it takes longer than 10 seconds, it's possible people are waiting longer than 10 seconds and then bailing, which would then be in the next category of 10 to 30 seconds. So let's try that out. Everyone bear with me. I'm going to share a new screen. This is incognito mode, so there's no caching. Open up developer tools. That's Option Command I on Mac. Disable cache, and then I've chosen my Astro preset, which is 3.0 megabits and 150 second latency, right? Okay, we're all set up. I paste in our game link. Let's see what happens. So first of all, you don't start counting until I press play. I press play, and here we go. I don't think it's a download issue. Yep.
Yeah, that
Definitely
wasn't
not.
too bad.
There's
No,
no
I was
assets in this game. I mean, you got your main menu, and that's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it. So, yep, I think we've ruled out that. That's good. It means that's at least one thing you don't really have to worry about, but it does mean you've got a slightly greater challenge, which is we got to find out why people just don't find this game that interesting. Now, as on a game design level, I don't think you've done anything wrong here. I think you've taken the format of this game and you've executed it beautifully, right? So there's probably a couple general ideas here. One can be that most of our players are just not in the mood for this kind of game, in which case there's probably nothing you can do to improve it, right? And in fact, at the moment, I don't see a lot of these kind of merge games in player's choice. I think the tastes of our players, as our audience grows and new people find Astrocade, it's always evolving. So a game that was really huge 6 months ago, maybe just moderately popular or even unpopular 6 months later. And we used to have games that were just like this on our player's choice row. So there's a possibility here that the game itself is well done, but there's not a market for it. Do you know what I mean? So that's one possibility. Another possibility is that the game core itself is fun. People like this. Nobody is bothered by what you've done here, but there's just not enough. It could be that, Toxic mentioned power-ups. I know you've got stuff like combos. I think you've done a good job of kind of fleshing it all out, but it could be that, I don't know, they need more power-ups. They need hazards. Maybe every now and then there's something dangerous that falls into the blender thing that you have to get rid of, or whatever. I'm just making up random ideas. So to me, there's two. If this were my game, I would have two potential conclusions. One is this whole genre is just not hot right now, and I should move on to something else. Or the base game is solid. People don't seem to dislike the concept, but they're just not sticking around because they get bored too fast. In which case, maybe I add some variety, I add some new challenges, I add some new power-ups, or whatever. Those are probably my two conclusions.
I think that there's a missed opportunity when, and I don't know if this would, have any effect on your analytics. But when you're dropping the fruit down, the effects that are happening when they're combining are very lackluster and very minimal. And I don't really actually get the feeling that they're merging. They just kind of feel like they're going bloop, see, and they just kind of change into whatever the other one is. There's not really any kind of juice going on. So to me, you have a little bit of opportunity for some visual rewards right here.
I love that idea. I think that's a great point. So one thing we've talked about before is what is the dividing line between juice that enhances the core mechanic versus juice that is just about pretty effects? And I think what Toxic is saying is a great example of where juice can actually be really important and not just for funsies and making things look pretty. So the core mechanic of this game, I'm zoomed in here so we can really focus on what happens when the fruits merge. The core mechanic of this game is fruit merging. That's all this game is about. So part of what you're doing is moving the cursor around and tapping to drop fruit, fine, whatever. But the real payoff at every moment of the game is when fruit merges. That's what the whole game is about. Now, I don't think this is badly done. You've got like a little bit of screen shake and some particles. That's fine. But I don't think Toxic is wrong by saying you could do a lot to dress this up. So now here's why this matters. If all you're doing is merging, then the nature of that merge is kind of the whole experience. And if there's an opportunity to make that experience deeper, you might want to do that before you decide whether or not the game is successful or not. Because it really could be that Toxic is correct, that maybe people like this, but that merging moment just doesn't give them enough of a dopamine rush, as Manvi always says. And because they don't get that feeling, they just don't stick with it. So there is one thing that I think is worth trying. To Toxic's point, maybe do an update to this game where you go nuts with what happens when the fruits merge. Like, just go as creative off the deep end as you want. In fact, I would say err on the side of like too much, just to have like a proper test, because you know how the game performs without all the juice. You're at a 48-second median time. It's worth asking the question, if the merging was like this mind-blowing experience, would that increase that number? And it might. So, and it's a relatively simple change. You don't have to like redesign the whole game. Just throw in some effects and see what it does. Does that make sense?
So when I changed that 2D plane to 3D, that was a very big change for this game mechanic. And then also I get rid of all the choices that user making for the combo bonus. So it's now automatically, randomly choosing what the combo bonus is going to be. So like the entire game mechanics kind of been redesigned, and that's been like 4 or 5 days ago. No, actually about a week ago. Okay. So when I now check the new analytics after the changes are made, because I'm only getting 20, 30 people a day, and maybe only one person play for real, so that I can't really see the real effect if that really impacted the player or not. So I was thinking maybe it's better to just copy this game and then just redesign with all the more juices into it, and then publish it as a new game. Is that a better strategy, or just keep making it, hoping that somehow it will pick up the feed?
That's a great question. Let me share one more thing before we move. And do you mind, by the way? I'm just going to share the dashboard for this game. Is that okay?
Share it. That's okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to share this real quick. So first of all, you raise a good point. It actually might be best, and sometimes the best move is just start over with a fresh copy of the game. I will say, if you want to do that, you have to make sure it looks different enough, maybe even change the name so that the QA team doesn't think you're just reposting the same game, because obviously you don't want people doing that. But that is a valid choice. But one other thing I would add, though, is you've got this custom range thing, right? So today's the 10th. Let's just see what you said. What was it like? A few days ago, you made this change. Let's look at the 8th to the 10th and see what that looks like. Okay, this has actually gone down a little bit.
Yeah, didn't really improve.
Now, whether it actually got worse is hard to say because these are small numbers, so it may not have gone down per se. But you can see that it does seem like the more we broaden it, the bigger the number gets, which tells me that your bigger plays were probably in the past. So I wouldn't go so far as to say these changes made the game worse, but we can confirm the changes did not make the game better, right? Even if you just look at the last 2 days, it's very clear there's not suddenly jumping up. So the reason I share this is because everybody should know that when you update your game, it's true that if you look at, say, 30 days and you've only made a big change in the last 3 days, that could kind of mess up your analytics. If you just want to know, was a difference made? Did you make a difference? Sorry, did you make a difference? So use the custom range as a way to try to constrain what dates you're checking, because without that, it will be hard to tell. But I think this does confirm that you don't necessarily have to post a fresh game, but so far the changes you made have not helped. So it's important that you try something, I think, totally different. My advice, I agree with Toxic, is maybe do one last pass where you add a bunch of cool effects to see if the merge experience itself will make a difference. And then if not, I think you've done all you can. The thing that sucks, that nobody wants to have to admit this, but it's just true, is sometimes it's out of your hands. Like, it's possible you did a great job, you've done everything right, but for whatever reason, people just don't want to play this game, and then that's the time to move on, right? And that's why we always say Astro Academy doesn't guarantee your games will be successful, but at least we can rule it out. It wasn't because it took too long to download. It wasn't because it had a bad onboarding or it was too complicated. You know what I mean? You did all those things right. And then if at the end of that it's still not playing with millions of people, then that's life, unfortunately.
Okay, so I think we do need to move on to the next one. We are spending quite a bit of time on the.
Yeah, so on the one hand, I'm just a hypocrite. I say I'm going to go fast and I don't. That's the simplest answer. But I did want to dig into this one a little bit because Samsung had some really good questions about analytics, and I think that applies to everybody. Everybody has the same question, which is how can I tell how well my game is doing, and what do I do if it's not doing so well? So this ended up just being kind of a good case study of that.
Justified. We were just giving you subtle hints in the chat was all.
No, no, no. I do see these very, very. I almost can't even notice them, but there's like the slightest hint of being rushed. In fact, they're coming from Toxic. Like, come on, man.
You said, let you know. I was letting you know. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
All right. Monvi, what do you think about all this? You've been very patient while I've been blabbing. I'm gonna load up the next game, by the way.
I mean, Samson. I'm a huge fan. I played your murder mystery game,
Thank you.
and
Oh
I
yeah,
love
that's right.
the
Monvi was
LLM.
talking about that game yesterday.
It was so good. I'm a fan. And I love these like merge games. But I think just one thing that I guess people have to know is merge games don't really do that well on Astrocade. We had really good creators come on and make like really beautiful, juicy everything merge games, but they just they just don't perform as well, just probably because of the audience or maybe it's a saturated genre. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure. Maybe that's the reason why you're not seeing too much luck because when I see it, I personally really like what I see. I think juice, no juice, doesn't matter. It looks really good. I like all the combos and stuff. But I think just for the sake of testing, if you really want to see, I would actually recommend making different, just like duplicating, remixing your own games, making duplicates and just like changing certain things and then testing it. Like it's the Erica way of doing it, and I think it works. It's a formula that works. She's very smart, so do something that works.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
a good idea. I did something similar with my Lemonade Squeeze Tycoon game. I wanted to make some changes, and so I made a duplicate of the game. I changed the name to Lemon Squeeze Tycoon Deluxe, and then I remade the thumbnail, and I added some changes and expanded features, and that got through QA just fine. So I think Monvi's probably right at this point because you've done a lot of good work on the game. Maybe leave it as it is, and then make a new version that's like Fruit Voxel, I forgot what it's called, but like expanded edition or like director's cut or something silly like that that makes it clear this is you adding some extra stuff to it, but it's a separate game. And then that
Yeah,
should
I'll be adding mixer to it and then juice, the real
Awesome.
juice. Yeah,
Awesome.
and then see how it goes.
So I hate to inform you, but you're going down the wrong list right now. We're in Academy Day 10, and I think you might be
No.
reviewing games from because I see that High Quality's game is there.
Oh no.
Well,
Well,
that
I've already
wasn't Samson's game. He was the first on the list, but it was for a different one. Samson, do you want us to review that, or can we move on since that we spent a lot of time on that one?
Yeah, I just don't want to steal everyone else's time, and thank you so much for all the feedback. This is still very helpful, so we can move on
This
to
is-
other people's game.
well,
And
I'll,
Samson, I'll help you afterwards if you need more feedback on your game that you posted there for the Academy.
Yep.
Thanks, Samsung. I appreciate you being cool about that. Yeah, I mean, I think that was a really good conversation, but yeah, it's a bummer if we didn't get to your latest game. So, Toxic, if you can help out with that, that'd be great. If I'm still around, I'll do it as well. I actually have a little bit longer today because my internet's not dying, so maybe we'll get to all of them. But I also had to see this. I know we're not going to review it again, but this game is awesome. Check out High Quality's Book Heist. This is just so much cool 3D action going on. I had to check it out. Okay, so Toxic, actually, would you mind playing the next game? Because this will kill two birds with one stone. We get to mix up the playtesting, and you clearly have a better idea of what we're doing than I do. I think most people have a better idea than I do.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Awesome.
All right, so we'll just start. I'm not going to do the incognito thing because honestly, I don't ever do that. But
That's fine.
we'll definitely do the network thing here. So, whoops. Go to Astro, disable our caching, get a nice.
Look at this.
new
Toxic has got the
refresh.
whole setup on his browser. Awesome. Nicely done.
Oh, I had that since Academy too.
Awesome.
When you top that. Okay, so I actually didn't pay any attention, but I guess we're doing it right here when we hit the play button, right? So here we are.
Great loading screen.
All right, that
pretty
was
fast.
pretty fast. I would say that your start button tap to continue was tiny. Oh, smokes. Okay. All right, so we've played this one already. We have to find out who is the killer. and we have to eliminate the killer before he kills other people. And I think our feedback last time on this game was that it was just a little hard to tell who was who. So I noticed that we have a little indicator. I think that might be a little too revealing. Let's see. The bullet time is awesome on this game, and I think the way the player fell down last time was our feedback. It needed to be a little bit more. Okay, so it's still the same. He just kind of lays down and goes to sleep. I think our feedback last time is we wanted to see some kind of ragdoll effect, right? Some kind of physics involved, because most games that use that bullet time, they also use that ragdoll effect, and it really, really adds to the cinematic feel of that bullet time. So,
Yeah, I
target
agree.
eliminated. Level 2, City Plaza at dusk, identified by behavior. He is watch for people rushing, moving weirdly, or any attacks. Hit your head first shot, and the enemy is armed. All right. Ooh. I'm not sure what happened here, but I got some performance issues. All right, sucker, where are you at? I don't know. That guy seems to be moving awfully weirdly.
I think that's
Oh.
more than enough. You should shoot him in the head.
I think it's just dude. I think it's this guy, all right. There. Little lag on the bullet time.
This is so cool to watch every time. I don't get sick of it.
I like how the blood came out the opposite end. Yeah, definitely the ragdoll thing there. So did I just kill him?
Ragdoll would be so awesome.
Hey, I was right.
Nice.
I don't know. I honestly didn't really know if that was the guy or not. I just thought he went behind the tree to kill somebody. And only one person came out, so I assumed that the other person was dead behind the tree.
Okay, so what do you think, Toxic? What are your you've done a couple rounds here. I love there's the loading dock level. That's so cool.
My thoughts
what do you think?
are, I kind of feel like it's in the same place as we reviewed last time. I would like to know from the creator what has changed, so maybe I can take a look closer at that so that I can give maybe better feedback. But I do think that it's still hard to tell who the character is that I'm supposed to shoot. Honestly, I got real lucky on that last guy. It just seemed like maybe something was happening there. The nighttime seems to lag a little bit. I would definitely take a look at the lag situation at nighttime. In my opinion, I think it should run better at night because you don't have any shadows that you have to deal with. So all these should be eliminated at nighttime. So I feel like nighttime generally runs better. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. Alex has suggested in the past, and I suggested this to Momoko, that you put a temporary FPS meter at the top of your screen and then play your game and see where those FPS drops happen. And because you may not always be sure what's causing it or where it's coming from, excuse me. But that FPS counter you can monitor at, play your game, and kind of find out where that issue is happening at. I think the feel of the game is awesome. I love the perspective. I love what I'm supposed to be doing. However, I do find it confusing on who I'm supposed to be killing. So I think that needs to be conveyed to the player a little bit better visually. As right now, they all kind of look the same. Their heads are all kind of doing this weird headband thing. But yeah, I failed. But yeah, I think this is cool. The bullet time effect really makes this game. But I do definitely think that you need to convey who the killer is and work on the performance issues.
Cool. That's a great summary. I will add a very brief addendum to that. Nothing fancy because I think Toxic got the gist of it pretty right. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run down this game design checklist. So this is the document we shared. And in fact, just to make sure everyone's got it, here it is again. This is a link to the game design checklist. And I'm going to do a quick speed run through this document and just map it onto the game. So number one, core mechanic. Does it have a clear mechanic? Is it fun, et cetera, et cetera? I think we'd agree it has a very clear core mechanic, which is aim your gun, shoot at the bad guy. Hopefully he's a bad guy. Simple enough.
Oh.
Next one is juice. I think overall it has a lot of great juice. Even the loading screen is cool. You've got like the vignette effect around the site. You've got all that stuff. That's great. But I also, and the bullet time. The bullet time is like the best part of the juice. But what I do agree with Toxic is that it'd be really cool if the falling over thing felt a little more real. That I don't think is required for this game to be successful, but that would be like some good extra juice, right? Progression meta, does the game have a clear meta loop? I'd say pretty much. You're going from level to level. The levels are changing. There's actually progression. It's not like it just is the same thing over and over. So good job. TTF and FTUE, I'd say we've proven they're both good. The game downloads fast. within a matter of seconds you're playing the game, and your first time experience, other than Toxic's point about the killer not being super obvious, it's relatively straightforward. You aim the gun and you shoot. People pretty much can figure that out. So I think that if you just run down the list of the game design checklist, Toxic's criticisms are still valid, but at the very, very basic most level, it's pretty much got the stuff right. And now I think there's a level of refinement that could go deeper that would address Toxic's concerns, which I agree with.
I think that every time I play your game and it restarts, the performance gets worse and worse.
Good
I think
boy.
you have some kind of a cleanup issue going on where you're
Yeah.
actually overlapping or layering things on top of each other instead of cleaning them up and regenerating them or respawning them. So right now I'm literally getting, I think, 2 or 3 frames a second right now. So definitely take a look at what's going on when the game restarts.
Yeah, in fact, we should add a line to the checklist that basically says, does this game run okay, either on low-end hardware or over time? It's actually very common, especially for 3D games, to degrade over time. We can get into why in another lesson, but there's just reasons why overall they get slower. Caden, we should talk. Why don't you DM me? I can give you more tips because we got to move on to the next game, but I appreciate your feedback. You've given us some helpful thoughts in response to our critiques. Reach out to me or Toxic, and we can both help you out, but just connect with me via DM, and I'll help you go over your game a little more. Cool.
I already have the next one up unless you want to play it or unless Monvi wants to play it.
You're welcome to go, or Monvi, either one.
I just figured we can just speed these real quick so we can
Yeah,
get
let's
as
do
many
it.
in as possible. All right, do a little Astro, disable cache, loading. Jelly flow, we're good to go. That was not intentional. All right, so decent load times. I'd say about 8-10 seconds. All right, so right away. Okay, so right now I feel like I'm at the main menu, but I also feel like I'm in the game, and you're also giving me a tutorial and a leaderboard all at the same time.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, pretty much if this is the only mechanic, it's all I really need, right? So slide up and down to morph. No, that's all that I need, and I don't need anything else. But we'll see. Skins, I don't need them on the main menu. I just want to see a nice main menu. And Alex, you mentioned that you like this leaderboard. I'm not a fan of this style of a leaderboard. I think that it covers up your main menu and the stuff
I
that's
actually
going
agree
on
with
that.
you. I mentioned on the previous game that I thought it worked just because the title screen was so simple and it's such a simple score-based game that you can make an argument for why a leaderboard on the title screen kind of entices the player. But overall, I tend to agree with you, which is that most of the time, a leaderboard just adds a ton of text and a ton of detail to your title screen that makes it less accessible, I think. So I think there are times when it can work, but generally speaking, I agree with Toxic.
I generally think that we should put a trophy button if you want it on your main menu screen, or present this screen to the player after he loses a match or the match ends, so he can see where he's at on the leaderboard each step of the way. All right, so I played this. It added a face to it.
The face adds so much.
It's like expression change because it's stretching. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I want his mouth to be a circle, though, like a perfectly round circle that stretches into an oval when I stretch him up. Like that, right there. Ask and you shall receive. All right. So this game is very, very simple. I don't need a tutorial. All I needed was a simple little thing. I don't know if you need to put it on the main menu, or maybe you should put that right before the game starts.
So we've seen this game a few times, and the creators here in the chat. Nazmal, if you got anything to say, you're welcome to jump in. But why don't we do just a quick review, because we've reviewed the game a few times. All I'm going to say is I'm going to throw in timey, 30 seconds. I'll do a 30-second game dev checklist summary of the game.
Shoot.
Core mechanic, I think it's crystal clear. It's a great core mechanic. You stretch or you squash to avoid obstacles. Done. Awesome. Juice. Well, he just added a face. That's as much juice as you can imagine. You've got a face on your squishy character. You've got stuff like it looks like there's like splattering on the camera lens, like really cool stuff. There's a background, trees and rocks. Juice is covered. Good job. Progression meta, this is the only one I don't have a clear sense of. I know that you're on level 2 and it looks different. So the fact that the game is swapping out the backgrounds already is a good sign that this game has decent progression. Toxic, oh, and look at that, level 3, it looks different. Again, awesome. Time to fun, FTUE, and download times. I'd say all of them are pretty good. We saw that it download quick. It's so simple, you kind of get to the action immediately. The only thing I agree with Toxic The title screen might be a little busy. It's like tutorial plus leaderboard plus a couple options. That could maybe be simplified. So that's my summary according to the checklist. The only question I have for you, Toxic, because you're playing it, is how does the change in difficulty feel over time?
I'm not feeling the change in difficulty, and I'm also confused on some of your power-ups, so what they do. And so I pick them up, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on, or even if they are positive pickups or if they're negative pickups. So I'm not really sure on that. Otherwise, I think that I don't think that your environment changes enough to really scream new level. So I think maybe we need to take a look at maybe changing the scenery on the edge. And I know it's very simple, and I think you've done that on purpose. So I think that changing the scenery could just be a matter of changing the color of the background and changing the style of trees and rocks, or maybe just adding a couple things here and there. But it's very minimal, and I think that's what you were going for. So I wouldn't change it too much. But it definitely, to me, just seems like a color palette change instead of an actual scenery change. But
Ooh, you know what though? Look, we've got these sliding back and forth blocker things. I mean, one possibility is maybe introduce those a little bit sooner. Maybe level 2 has like one of them, and then level 3 has because they seem actually pretty tough to get past. So maybe as a way to make it very clear to the player that the difficulty is increasing, you can bring those out a little, because I think we're on level 3 or 4, or level 4 maybe, and that was the first time I've seen these. So that's an opportunity to maybe make the difficulty advance a little bit more abruptly, because I feel like the first 2 or 3 levels, from what you said, Toxic, were pretty similar, right?
right. And what Pika said there, can you go left and right? I cannot go left and right. And these are actually quite aggravating to me because they're moving left and right. And I
Yeah.
cannot go through them straight unless I accidentally happen to time it on, on accident.
Yeah.
And
Good
then
point.
I'm a little concerned too, or not concerned, but I'm a little confused on smash. Is that a good thing? Am I supposed to be smashing when it says that? Or is that like slowing me down and reducing my time or what have you?
Okay. So I think the feedback on this is difficulty progression could, I think, be tuned. And the title screen could be simplified. But other than that, you've pretty much nailed everything. So I think you've got a very good foundation.
I gave Momoko lots of feedback on this game, and I don't want to keep giving her the same feedback. So maybe you can help her with this, or maybe Monty can play it, and we can all help her out together. That way, I don't, because last time I played this, I felt that there was confusion on your dance floor, and I know that you were trying to get that figured out. So I would like to see someone else play this one.
Yeah, by the way, if you haven't heard it, the new Confusion on the Dance Floor album is amazing. Check it out. Manvi, do you want to try this game? Because I think you're the only one that hasn't played it. Maybe you get a fresh opinion.
Yeah, sure. Put it on the chat.
I got
I
Aw, that's so cute.
already
I
love the thumbnail.
Miko has, I think she uses these characters a lot, which I think is so cute. Okay, for me to share my screen,
I'm
Oh.
sorry. I'm giving up the rights. There you are.
thank you, Toxic.
You're very
And
welcome.
Momoko has joined us on the stage. Welcome, Momoko.
Hello, Momoko. Okay,
Hello, Miss.
Kawaii Monster Club. Oh, so I see. Oh. So I know I'm supposed to shoot this, but this is not coming back. So it's not coming back. So and I'm not able to aim. I don't really know where I'm aiming. Oh. Oh, I see. Was that a bug? Okay. Well, now that it's working, way more fun. Okay, enter the club. Oh, so that was just the onboarding? Oh. What am I supposed to do here? Match singles at the bar. That's funny. Who's single? They're done, right? I'm a little confused here. I'm not sure what I'm doing. Match singles at the bar, kick fire, make combat, press send when it's, oh, I guess press send. Oh. Too much reading. I want to like kind of understand as soon as possible. I feel like the onboarding was too long. I think a shorter onboarding would have been cuter. Like honestly, when I first came into the screen, I was ready to just like start throwing. I didn't need onboarding because it was quite obvious what I was supposed to do. Am I supposed to like? Oh, so similar color.
It wasn't so obvious.
I was gonna say, but
I guess it wasn't. But I didn't even get that from the onboarding because it was too long. I didn't.
That is a good. Actually, you know what? Manvi makes a very good point, which is if she just noticed it now, then that unfortunately means the onboarding perhaps didn't quite do its job.
Is this a quadruple? Like, what's happening here?
So my understanding, by the way, I played it a while ago. I probably have a vaguer memory of it than Toxic does. Is it seems like the game is a combination of multiple mini games that kind of come in sequence, right?
correct. The beginning game is a match game. You want to match the couples to put them on the dance floor. You want to, if you have a color that's not on the screen, you can give it to the bouncer and he'll kick them out so that you don't have to use up one of your matches. If you miss a match, they go to the club, they become single, and then you have to match them up together. And then it comes to the point to where you have to adjust them on the dance floor, which is more like a match 30 game. So you need to match them in a line or a vertical or what have you. But the problem that I had with Momoko's game was that I felt that the onboarding was a little confusing, and I think that the part with the match floor or the dance floor, the tutorial was even more confusing. So I was even more confused when I got done with the tutorial on what to do than I was when I first was presented with the screen with no tutorial. And so that's kind of why I wanted you guys to test it out, was because I was kind of giving the same feedback. I think that honestly, Momoko, you need to overhaul your entire tutorial and maybe start over and simplify it as much as you possibly can so that the player is very clear on what they're supposed to do. I think this one here is almost clear enough itself what you're supposed to do. So I don't think you need much here. Match the colors, kick the ones out that don't belong, and then move on. But the biggest confusion is your second minigame. So
Yeah. So this is an interesting one because one of the things we talk about so much in Astro Academy is having this single clear game mechanic. This game is an example of, and you see this in other games, so this is valid, of a game that has multiple core game mechanics. And it's almost like the game itself then becomes a sequence of mechanics. By the way, the animations in this game are so cute. I can't even stand how adorable this stuff is. But I think it's important to still, even if you have multiple game mechanics, to focus on kind of clarity and simplicity. And my thinking is that when you've got multiple game mechanics, it means the pressure is on you to keep the tutorials super simple because the game can kind of feel like endless tutorials if there's more than one in a row. So it sounds like, and I think Toxic is probably right, that simplifying it dramatically is probably the way to go. But I also wonder, and tell me what you think about this, guys, especially for the matching slingshot thing at the beginning, how much of a tutorial is really necessary? Like, could it be as simple as just you're immediately playing the game, there's no tutorial, but it just says on the screen, shoot at a matching character, and that's it. I wonder if it could be that simple, and then it doesn't feel like a tutorial. It's just there's some explanatory text on the screen, and you just play the game. Do you know what I mean?
And I feel
I'll
like
take
the
the
match
silent
three,
disagreement.
the match three part, like the next game after this, I still don't understand what that is.
Okay, so it sounds like the biggest piece of feedback here is that the FTUE, that's first time user experience, is unclear. Looking at the game from what I'm seeing, the game has a lot of juice. It feels very thoughtfully made, lots of cool effects and cute animation. And it looks like, from what I recall, also the kind of the game mechanic is fun, like the slingshot works pretty well. But I think the way it all hangs together, which basically means explanations, tutorials, onboarding, is the part that needs the most work. Would you guys agree with that?
yes.
Okay. Well, Momoko, you're here. Do you have anything you want to add? Any thoughts on our feedback?
If you're talking, Momoko, your mic is muted.
Yeah, I think Momoko may not be here actually.
Oh no.
Hello.
Oh, good.
Hey.
Yes.
Hi.
Hola, Momoko.
Hola, hola. I think that maybe if I only let the first dynamic, I miss the game or the strategic of the game because you can shoot many monsters and you can have the dance floor full of fighters and it will call the police. You can have full of similar color couples and you will get a lot of money so you can improve your club. Or you can have very low shooting and you can have very low people in the club. So how I can explain all this in a tutorial?
I think that
Or-
you might have too much mechanics going on, and maybe if we were able to simplify some of the mechanics, you would not have to explain them so in depth.
Interesting. Yeah, that's one way to look at it for sure.
Yeah. So maybe if I let the mechanic very obvious, it's not
Yeah.
necessary to explain anything.
Yes. The best tutorial is always no tutorial. So if it's possible to
Yeah.
just not even have a tutorial, that's ideal. We talk a lot about tutorials, but I think maybe something we could make more clear is that if you don't need one, you're actually better off not even trying because it makes the game simpler.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that's the goal.
Yeah. So this is a very good idea. Best tutorial is not tutorial, so I will check how I can take off that tutorial.
Yeah, but as
Yeah.
long as we're crystal clear that that means though that if there's no tutorial, it's because it isn't necessary. Like that's the
Yeah.
important subtlety there. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Great.
thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank
course.
you. Amazing job.
Yes, thank you. I love the game. It's so
Thank you.
cute. It's really fun. So the vibe of the game is great. I think we just need to clean up some of the tutorial mechanics and all that.
Yeah.
But in the club, todas somos familia.
Muchas gracias, claro que sí.
All
Sí,
right.
senor.
Thanks, Toxic.
Great one, Toxic.
Muy bien, sí, sí.
Okay, let's who's next? I think we're gradually increasing our pace.
Sakura is the next one up. That is the Interstellar Defense or Nova Vanguard Defense. We got two names for it.
I just played that one yesterday. Monvi, do you mind doing one more because you'll be fresh eyes on this game?
I was literally gonna leave, but sure, I can do one last one.
Monvi's always got one
Got
foot
here.
out the door.
Hey. Stop.
Only we care about you guys. Remember who cares about you most.
Hey, who gives you all smart model? Me.
Okay,
So-
I didn't see that coming. I kind of set myself up for that. That was pretty good.
You really did. You really did. Okay. What's the game? Can you link the game?
I can.
Oh, I think I have it
Thank-
right here. Is this it? Check it out.
Wait. Oh,
I got Toxics.
Hey, Pika, can you also send the link? We should just do all three of us. Send everybody.
Okay. Mini Giant. Okay. Cool. Nova Vanguard Defense. Send it. Oh wait,
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember this game.
Yep.
Wave one. I forgot this game, so well, maybe that's a good thing. Okay. Oh, bro. Kill him, kill him, kill him, kill him. Oh, nice. Sick. Oh, thank you. Appreciate. Ooh, I really like this part.
Isn't that cool?
Wave two. Very cool. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. I can use all of it, right? Oh, maybe I can't. Maybe that's a bad move. I have zero money. Oh. Okay. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Wait, bro. Don't hit me. Whoa, what the heck?
I love the effects in this game.
I love the
There's
effect.
so many different effects that he has going on.
Kill him!
My
Oh,
biggest
I can't.
complaint was that I feel that the ship's too big, or maybe your UI at the bottom of the screen is too large, and so I feel like it's taking up too much of the space. I don't think other people shared that opinion on here. So, but that is, I still think that it's taking up too much space, and I want to see more of the battle happen in the middle of the screen and not so much right at the front of my ship.
I mean, I'm clearly dead here. You can just cut to the chase. you know.
Oh, right, because you don't have any kind of money over time. You might think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I'm done. So this is a waste of time. I might drop off here and just go to the next game. Because I get it. I'm dead. I'm not waiting until, it's dead.
Guys, Monvi's a tough audience. If you can win with Monvi, you can win anywhere, but she's the final boss.
I like how
What
that's
if your ship had a small passive firing ability where it was able to continue firing after all the ships were down, but just at a really low amount of damage, and then maybe
yeah.
you could defeat this situation here with that. I also feel like it's maybe missing like power ups. I know I say power ups a lot, but I want to activate a shield. I want to activate
Yeah.
some kind of ion beam after I've gotten so many kills or something to that effect. Or maybe make it to where every time you buy something, you do get a tiny little bit of click in currency, kind of like an incremental, so that you can eventually buy more over a period of time to help with the situation is.
What you're getting at is the meta. So how about this? Why don't we do a very quick run through the doc, and that will, I think, tie together what Monvi and Toxic are saying. Number one, core mechanic. This game's got it. You tap a bunch of ships to deploy them, and they auto battle. Very clear. Number two is juice. If anything, this game has way too much juice. Like, this is an excessive amount of juice. It's taking juice from everybody else. It's very unfair. We are all now out of juice because this one game took all the juice. Awesome, though. I kid, of course, it's great. Beautifully done effects. Number three is progression and meta. So that's what Toxic is getting to. And it's kind of what Monvi is getting to, because she died, but she appears to be completely stuck in this kind of like half dead, half alive state. Those are both like meta issues. So the core loop is working, but Toxic's point, the power-ups and the stuff aren't showing up soon enough. I see in the chat, Sakura says they show up in wave 5. The feedback might be maybe at least a couple power-ups show up sooner than that, right? That's a possibility. And then to Monvi's point, if you die or if you are in some way defeated, that should be a very quick route to the next round. You shouldn't be stuck there for any serious period of time. And then the last ones are TTF, FTUE, and download times. I see in the chat, Sakura says he put a lot of work into making the game download faster. We don't really need to test that right now. Let's just take it as a given that that's true. I think the TTF and the FTUE are both pretty good. Actually, what do you guys both think about that? Watching you play, it seems pretty simple. Do we feel like there's any more need for explanation, or do you think you kind of got it?
I think that after you've clicked a couple buttons, you understand exactly what to do in the game. I don't think there's any need for a tutorial, except for maybe the very first time there's a finger pointing to the very first one, and that's all that you would need.
That would be a nice touch, but I also agree, I'm not sure it's necessary. Monvi, how do you feel about getting into this game as basically? I know you played it like once before, but like, what was your experience of your first few seconds with this game?
I liked it. I knew exactly what to do. I like these wave games, played them before. But I was definitely stuck in, I think, in level 3. Yeah, that part. I'm just like, can we even win? Like, is it
Yeah.
possible to win? So it just felt like I was stuck.
Okay, so then I think it's pretty safe to say that you've got basically everything done right in this game, except maybe the progression and the meta loop could use some work. So Toxic suggested more power-ups earlier on. Monvi had an issue with dying and being stuck. And also, it sounds like Monvi, you're saying maybe the game gets too abruptly difficult. Like all of a sudden level 3, you like couldn't beat it at all.
Yeah, and also, why is this guy dying so fast? Like, isn't the higher power supposed to, I don't know, be a higher power? Like,
Yeah.
Well, higher power doesn't always mean higher defense, right? So he might have a really high attack, but really low defense, and so he's meant to be like that.
whatever I do, I'm not able to win this. So if anyone else, like, I don't know, beat this round, let me know, because I clearly am not able to.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we've done a good job tearing this game, doing a tear. No, sorry, not tearing it down. We're doing a tear down. We've kind of gone through every aspect of the game. To summarize, I think it's all great, but the progression and the meta needs some work. So work on the difficulty and maybe work on injecting power-ups earlier on. But other than that, I think we're all blown away by how great it looks. It's just an absolute masterpiece of like juice and effects. So if you can tidy up the rest of the game, I think it's a really, really, really strong piece of work. Nicely done. Okay, well, thanks, Monvi. If you're going to take off, go for it. You are always welcome to stick around, but I will do the next game.
Fine. Bye, guys.
Bye, Monvi. Quasiata. Quasiata? I think that's right.
One? Yes. So this is Dragon Hatchery. Merge eggs to hatch legendary elemental dragons. Start hatching. I will start hatching. So, looks like we've got ourselves a merge. Ooh, that was unexpected. Okay, I'm already very confused. That is not what I was expecting. I started off with what looked like 4 level 1 eggs, like this. Let me do that again, in fact. Let's see if, I don't know if that was a fluke. So I spawned an egg. I don't know if that's what the creator expected, but I had 4. I merged this, because it looks like any one of these are merges, but look, it looks like all of them transform. That's strange. I was expecting only the pair that I merged to transform. And then what I'm noticing is even though these both appear to be level 2 eggs, nothing happens. So I'm a little confused. Obviously I can't merge these, but neither do these merge.
It needs to be a 1-for-1. It's like right now it's a 1-for-2. Oh, you did it differently that time.
I did it differently
You
that
got
time.
1.
Yeah. I will just back up real quick. Merge games, their popularity may have peaked, but for a while there, these games were hugely popular. So you've chosen a great genre and a game that has a very clear and very satisfying core mechanic. So all good. But yeah, this does not appear to be totally functional. I don't know if the creator is here, but sorry, is Gabriel the creator?
Oh, no. Quasi, I've seen him in here before.
Okay, so it's not the same. It's not a different username.
No.
Okay.
Also, if your game is not up and being reviewed, don't ask to speak, please.
Yeah, sorry guys, it's just for the creator. If nobody else, or I'm sorry, if the creator's not here, then we can move on. Needless to say, in this game, it seems like the game is just not working. So until it's fixed, we're gonna have to move on to another game.
Okay. Now we have, but when I'm waiting for that.
Yeah. I'll just do this one again.
Okay.
I gotta catch
Got
up
it.
because
I don't know, you're good.
been letting Toxic do all the heavy lifting. This is of course the astonishingly impressive Tidebound. This game really.
Real quick, sorry, Alex. We reviewed this game yesterday, and I don't think that you were here. I think that you had gone to sleep. But our concern is that we didn't notice anything that had changed really, and so we were wanting to hear from you what you had changed, and what your next step is.
I actually saw this game being reviewed yesterday, but I think I may have missed a lot of the details. So I know it came up, but yeah, maybe you guys can catch me up on where we landed with this, or just the creator can explain if there are differences. And if not, we can move on.
We're able to swim off of the starter island to whatever island we want. We suggest maybe adding some sharks or something to the water so you can't swim and you have to have a boat to make it to the next island. We had also discussed, you were talking about putting boats into the game, but we still didn't see the boats yet. The onboarding was a little confusing. I didn't play it yesterday. Knox played it. So I think we actually got a little off track because I don't think he was here.
Okay. Well, all I'll say, as always, is this game is just staggeringly beautiful. It's an amazing piece of work visually, and there's a lot of really cool gameplay here. I think everything you just said, those are all really good add-on kind of suggestions or critiques. There was one other thing I want to say about this game, though, and I haven't tested this yet myself, so this may not be true, but I did a little bit of a review of the game's code, and just kind of looking at it, my biggest concern is that this game may not run very well on older phones. Now, I don't know what kind of device the creator is using. Maybe they have an older phone and it's better than I think. But there is some good reason to think that on something less than cutting-edge hardware, this may have some optimization and frame rate issues. So that's something to think about. But until we test that, I'm just raising it as food for thought, just because there is just so much in terms of geometric detail and the way it's done in an HTML5 game like this, it may not be as optimized as it needs to be. So that's my only feedback. But if now, to be fair, it runs fine for me. But oh wait, is the creator here of the previous game? Looks like. Yeah. So for now, it's running fine. But again, I'm running it on very, very modern hardware, so you never really know until you've tested it on something a little bit older. Okay. While Toxic is out, I will move on to the next game, and then I see Quasi Ada is here. Okay, great. Yes. How about this? When Toxic's back, we will loop back to your game. For the time, I'm going to do the next one real quick, and then we'll get back to your game as soon as possible. Okay. This is Weed Whacker Dash. I saw this game being reviewed yesterday. I didn't play it myself, but I was excited to see it. So let's check it out. By the way, Toxic, it looks like Quasi Ada is here. So maybe after this, we'll just recap what we saw with the dragon hatching game after this one.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so this, I love the way this game looks. This is so cool. Except the backwards cars are a little strange. I'm not even really playing right now. I'm just kind of exploring how the game scrolls. Let me restart this and do it properly. Okay, Weed Whacker Dash, play. Unless it's for audio permissions, getting back to our previous conversation, I'm not sure you need this play button. It's not the end of the world, but it's not clear to me why I need to actively press this button. Okay, swipe, use arrows to move left, right. All right, this is one thing that does kind of bother me a little bit, is that the game is already running while I'm reading the tutorial, so I kind of feel like I'm like taking damage or spending fuel before I know how to play. It might be good if you want the game running while the tutorial is on screen, which actually is a good idea. Maybe disable all the power-ups and damage, like just the game just scrolls. But then until I start playing the game, nothing actually affects me, because it kind of sucks when you have to read the rules, but you also see that things are happening to you at the same time. So that's something to think about. But once I get into the game, pretty straightforward. I'm collecting coins, I'm whacking weeds, and I am jumping over obstacles. It's pretty fun once you figure out how to do it. I'm assuming that soccer ball is something to jump over as well. It's not a big deal, but the backwards cars are a little weird to me. I would strongly advise just flipping those around. They should be pretty easy.
Yesterday feedback on this game was there was some weird swirling head on the player's arm that looked like an extra end of
I think I remember that. Yeah.
We suggested that the backgrounds I gave him compliments on, because I think that the parallaxing in the background is fantastic, although some trees are kind of appearing and numbers are coming too close to the screen.
Whoa.
He also didn't have any cars, and he didn't have a road, so it was just a blank area at the bottom of the screen. So we suggested that he do something similar to this, but I think that your cars are a little too small, and some of them were going the wrong direction. I actually wanted them to pass in front of the player, slightly overlapping the top of them, so it gave off the 3D effect.
It's a fun idea.
But we also complimented on the fact that the grass is really well done and animated. It actually, I think it was swirling yesterday or moving yesterday, wasn't it?
I think it still is. Look.
Okay. But I also suggested that maybe we see some kind of visual reward where, as he's chopping it, you're also seeing the grass kind of come up and fall onto the ground, or maybe even shoot out the back of him off the screen to where he's actually, you're seeing where the grass is going. I think that's an opportunity for some visual reward or juice. I think it would add to the game quite a bit.
Yeah, that's all great. I think I pretty much agree with all of that. My feedback playing the game is that the core loop is really good. It's very satisfying to just chew through all this grass. I really like that. I do think, though, that there's a little bit of the player's shape that I find kind of awkward. Like, it's never entirely clear to me what the edge of the collision is. Like, I feel like, I'm playing kind of poorly because I'm using WASD on my laptop, which I'm kind of a console guy, so I'm never used to doing that. But it feels like whatever the kind of the box of collision around the player is, I don't know. It may be something about it, like I'm unexpectedly being hit by stuff. But
I think it extends out beyond your weed eater, probably. So you're actually getting hit before your weed eater even hits, and so it makes it really hard to avoid these obstacles. You probably have a little bit of the container box behind you too, so if you're not careful and you land too close, you'll take damage as well. You can go into your editor and you can make a hitbox editor and adjust the hitbox to whatever size you want. And I would suggest maybe taking a look at that for that.
Yeah, it's actually a very common trick, and this is something we're going to add in some new mini lessons. It's a very common trick in game design to make the hitbox a little bit smaller than the visual depiction of the player. And the reason for that is it makes the game a little bit easier, so the player is less likely to get frustrated. It makes you'll get this kind of fun near misses where you almost hit something but you don't. By the way, this is off center, not a big deal at all. It's not going to affect your game's performance, but you might want to clean that up. So yeah, overall, I really like this game. It looks really good. It's a fun concept. I think that some of these janky visual artifacts, like the trees moving incorrectly and the cars being backwards and the road not scrolling quite right, those are worth fixing, but they're not deal breakers. That will not be the reason why the game is successful or unsuccessful. I think what could matter more is there's I think it's like a running squirrel or something. In my opinion, it's probably not great to have tiny things like that because it might just frustrate players, especially on small phones. It's going to seem less like a challenge and more like you're kind of pulling a cheap trick on them just to make them run into something that they didn't see. So I would maybe make those bigger so players can't feel like they're being sort of tricked or cheated. But other than that, it's a good concept. So to me, it's more about just refinement. Oh, and then the other question, I know that once I collect coins in between levels or whatever, there's some kind of an upgrade shop or something. But there might be more room for progression. Toxic, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, or see like that little squirrel or whatever it is, I think is too tiny. Are there any other changes in backgrounds or scenery as the game progresses?
I don't think so. Not that
Okay.
I noticed, anyways.
Perfect opportunity for a game like this is just different scenery. Like it's a neighborhood, it's like an office park, it's a school, it's a park, like an actual park, national park. Eventually you're on Mars or whatever. Like you can just give the player all sorts of different environments to whack weeds. That would probably be the last thing that I would suggest adding on top of everything else. But yeah, I like the core of it. Cool. Oh, by the way, I'll check out the shop real quick. Let's see, can I get this? Do I have the money for... Oh, I've got the Industrial Beast. I'm not sure I'm noticing a big difference, though. In fact, I don't think...
Visual difference on your character?
It's maybe trimming a little bit faster, but I feel like the trimming wasn't really the problem last time. Like, I think the upgrades might be better spent on, you can take more damage or you can hold more fuel. Actually, maybe there is more fuel. That may already happen. Or maybe, I don't know, I think other kinds of gameplay upgrades would be a little more helpful than upgrading the Weed Whacker, because I think the Weed Whacker is already pretty much fine at level 1. But the fact that you've got a shop is good because it means you're planning for a meta loop. So that's at least a good start. Great.
Did you want to go back to Quasi?
Exactly. I was going to suggest. What we were just saying. In fact, I can just go in the back button maybe. Dragon Hatchery. Yes, here we go. So if you're still with us, Quasi. Oh, there you go. You're on the stage. Welcome. So we had a little issue with your game, and maybe you can explain if I'm doing something wrong. So I've got 3 eggs. I spawn a new one. It looks like I have 4 level 1 eggs. And then when I try to merge it, all of them merge. Now I have 2 level 2 eggs. I don't know what happened with these 2. And then I can't seem to merge this any further. So that was as far as we got.
Quasi, your mic is muted if you are talking.
Yeah, sure. Hello.
There we go. So,
Hello.
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay. So did you hear what Alex said about the merging?
Yes. I heard you perfectly.
What are your thoughts on that? Because to me, it seems like you should merge 2 things, and then it seems like some unexpected things are happening where it's merging more than 1 at a time. And then here on this screen that we're looking at, we're having a hard time merging the 2 together. In my experience, merging games generally are 2 of the alike that you merge together, and so the mechanic is a little confusing to us.
Yeah, here, I'll do it again to demonstrate what Toxic said. Yeah. I've got 4 level 1 eggs, and I merge it, and they all merge, and then this doesn't seem to work.
Okay. So I was thinking there's 4 eggs. You imagine you're going to get 2 eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, it was 4. So when you merge it, it's supposed to be 2. 2 is going to give you 2 golden eggs. And these 2 golden eggs can also be merged. When you get 4, you can merge this golden egg to also get blast, and you get a score on that.
So wait, are you saying I have to have 4 of these red eggs to merge them?
Yes, when you get these 4 golden eggs, and you merge it, it's going to give you a score. So basically, that was the idea about that game.
So I think that. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, I was just going to say I'm still not quite getting it because I can't seem to, the actual merging doesn't really seem to consistently work, and then I have to wait a really long
Alright.
time between spawning new
Alright.
eggs, and I don't think I have anything I can do between that.
Okay. So I think I have to work on that, improving that game.
I would
Yeah,
say, Quasi, that you want to not do a four merge. Don't require the person to have, and even here having a hard time. Okay, so now you can merge. So the amount of time that it took the player to get to that is
Yes.
literally a minute almost, and
Yeah.
so the time to fun needs to be in the first 5 to 15 seconds. So I would suggest that making it a merge 2 and not a merge 4, because I think
Yep.
that's very confusing.
Well
And then
noted.
reduce your timer at the bottom to where it's probably 5 seconds. That way, the gameplay advances a little
5
bit
seconds, that
quicker.
right?
Yeah, and so you're getting the player, you're feeling that progression quicker as he's moving along versus having to wait extended periods of time before he can do something. That makes sense, yeah?
Yeah. So feedback taking.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. It makes sense. Really sense.
Awesome.
So
Cool.
I'll work on this.
Yeah, that'd be great. Please do that. But yeah, merge games are great. So if you improve this, you should have something good on your hands. So keep us posted as you work on your game. Thanks for sharing. Okay, I've got time for one more.
Well noted. I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. I got time for one more, and then I'm gonna have to get to some other Astrocade duties. But let's get this out of the way.
The Ayla BD, is it the next one?
Oh, maybe not. Is that this one? No, that's not this one.
I don't think that's this one.
I don't see it.
Here, I'll just link it. Oh,
Wait.
never mind. Never mind. Never mind.
So I think next up is Tic Tac Pro.
Yeah.
So let's see how this goes. All right, so it's Tic Tac Toe, which I'm assuming we don't need a lot of explanation for. That's okay. My first impression is that I don't know if we need all these numbers. This seems like a lot of kind of technical information for a very simple game, but let's see how it goes. All right, so it is a game that is sort of like famously hard to win or lose. Like tic-tac-toe is generally the kind of thing where unless the player is actively like kind of trying to lose, it's bad example.
Or actively not trying to lose.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm actively trying to explain the game, which I am notoriously bad at playing games while talking. But you know, if you're playing the game seriously, it's kind of an open question of like how many people are really gonna like have an unexpected experience. See, again, I'm walking into the wall here over and over. But if you're not narrating the game, it's pretty hard to lose tic-tac-toe. What I do like about the game though is it's actually got pretty cool juice. Like the pieces or the X's and O's are glowing, and there's these particles, and like here I'll let him win, and then look at this. I like the kind of glowing line through it. So there's some basics, but it's a very simple game. And then it's got a surprising amount of detail at the bottom that I don't know if is totally necessary for something so simple. And I think the biggest thing for me that I think I would prefer is like throw some novelty into this that makes this a little bit more unique than tic-tac-toe. Like for instance, I don't know, what happens if it's a 4x4 grid instead of a 3x3? Or maybe even there's just like different pieces than X's and O's. Maybe it's like robots and dragons and they're animated or something like that. I can imagine a lot of ways to maybe clean up tic-tac-toe, you know, and kind of level the game up a little bit. Whereas right now, other than the amusement of watching me lose the simplest game, I'm not sure how much is going to hold the attention of a completely fresh player that just stumbled upon this in the feed. You know?
Yes, I would say that because I review a lot of games for smart model access. Of course, Pika, I know you do twice what I do. However, I see these a lot. I see Flappy Bird games, I see Breakout games, and I see Tic-Tac-Toe games. And so my suggestion or my feedback to those people trying to get smart model access with these style of games is that if you're going to do something simple and very well known, you got to add your own unique twist or mechanic to the game to spice it up so that players, when they're playing it, they can easily recognize, yes, I'm playing tic-tac-toe. But the mechanics that you have added a twist to the game to where it makes the game yours or makes the game a little bit more original than the original version. So what I'm seeing here, honestly, is pretty much just tic-tac-toe. So I would like to see some kind of other mechanic going on. And if you don't want to do mechanic, then you got to do it with juice. And if you can make Breakout the juiciest Breakout and visually pleasing, then I don't think you do need to change the mechanic on it. However, so I think that you do have one or two routes when it comes to these. Either make it your own, make it unique, or juice it up so much that the players don't care that you're playing the same thing that they played over and over.
Right. Exactly. Yep. So we'd love to see maybe an update to this game that introduces some of those ideas that I almost said Tixic, that Tic Tac Toxic suggested. Let's see where it goes from there.
Tic Tac Toxic is my breast stink.
All right, last one on the list.
Hey, we made it. Holy smokes, we made it.
Nova Strike featuring Astrocade creators. Ah, yes. We've seen this game before. I think it's great. This was really fun. This game is overloaded with juice. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the I forgot the name. We were just looking at earlier. The other spaceship deploying game that's got tons of effects. Kind of reminds me of that. Okay, I forgot what the feedback was because I think it was last week. I do notice that these ships still really appear to be moving backwards, but then you look at where the laser comes out. Maybe that's intentional. I don't know. Cool little details, like look at how the ship kind of leans when it moves back and forth. I like that. I always love trails of like particle exhaust, lots of cool explosion bursts. So the juice is good. It feels very satisfying. Because it's an auto shooting game, all I have to do is move around, which makes the game's core mechanic just dead simple, which I think is almost always a good thing. Because of that, the creator has thrown in a bunch of juice. So instead of worrying about all the details of moving around and shooting, because that's kind of done for you, oh, look at that, I died fast, shockingly. The game instead gives you a ton of great juice and depth. It feels really good, like there's screen shake, the responsive kind of player moves around very nimbly. So that's all great. I think where I might have some feedback is it's maybe pacing. So let me try to play the game a little bit more seriously and evaluate the difficulty, because I think right now it feels kind of impossible to lose. Like the enemies are very slow moving, so I'd really have to go out of my way to let any of this hit me. But then when I get to the boss, it felt like the boss was relatively difficult in a way that didn't feel like it totally matched the level. Like, for instance, I hit that laser because I wasn't paying attention, but that was my fault. The game itself was pretty straightforward to get through. Now, if I'm actually trying, I don't think this boss is that challenging, so maybe I can update my original assessment. I think this is pretty playable, pretty doable. It feels like a proper boss. I killed a bunch of super easy enemies, and now the boss is a little bit more challenging. So I think maybe what I would suggest is maybe in the beginning of the game, the first level, even though we want the first level to be very easy, I think there's a difference between easy, and let me just play it again, and what might feel a little bit too slow paced. So for instance, notice that as I'm playing the game, it's great that it's easy. The first level should never frustrate new players, but it's so easy that it's like the enemies don't even really make it halfway down the screen most of the time. Like, look, I can just knock these guys out without them even really getting past 10%. That's a bit of a problem, in my opinion. So one thought is maybe some of these enemies can move faster. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them are fast enough that it keeps me on my toes. It doesn't have to make the game much more difficult, but it can make the pace a little bit more interesting. And it might also be interesting if some of the enemies come in off, say, the side of the screen. Because when everyone comes from the top of the screen, let me do it one more time, I know exactly where to concentrate my fire, and nothing surprises me. Like, I can just hold the button down and just knock out everybody. I can just go back and forth and almost nothing gets past. So even though I want an easy first level, this might be so easy that it makes the game kind of feel like it doesn't have a lot of personality yet. So that might be my feedback. I'm kind of thinking out loud. What do you think, Toxic? I know you've played this before.
No, I think that's exactly, you hit it right there on the head. Tic Tac Toxic purple. Sorry, I'm being distracted by Chef Boyardee over here. But I think that this game is cool. I have noticed that your ships are backwards every single time that we played it, and it actually does kind of throw me off a little bit. I would like to see the thrusters in the back and then moving forward. My question is it auto firing? Because I had a
Yes.
question about that. So somebody has brought to my attention, and they've brought it to my attention a few times with my games, auto firing on mobile devices and getting rid of a fire button that takes up part of your screen. What is your opinion? I'm sorry this doesn't technically pertain to this game, but I really did want to get your opinion. What do you feel about auto firing on mobile devices versus giving them a button in which they actually have to press?
Okay, well, I have two thoughts, and actually, no, maybe I have one thought. But the simplest thought, which I still don't think we talk enough about, even though I think I repeat it all the time, is that is a perfect question for playtesting. So early on in the creation of your game, my advice, if you're curious about it, because you raise a really good question, Toxic. A lot of mobile games have like an auto fire. Some games are auto move. Basically, because mobile controls are usually simpler than like console or PC controls, a lot of mobile games will choose to do one thing for you so you can focus on one other thing. So some games the character moves on their own and you choose when to fire. Sometimes the character fires on their own and you choose how to move, that kind of thing. Now that alone is totally valid because again, mobile games have proven that's a very popular way to make a game. So that's not inherently good or bad. But your question about like should you make it auto fire or not could still be unique to your game. There could be reasons why this game might be more fun if I'm also choosing when to fire. Maybe. We don't know. Now, instead of trying to guess, one really good way to do this is to make two very simple demos of the same game. One where it's auto fire, one where it's not auto fire, where there's a button on the screen. And this can be done pretty easily because you should do this early on. Do this within your first few wishes. Just rough out that gameplay mechanic. Then find a couple people and let them play both, right? And just get some basic user data from 2, 3, ideally at least 3 people, maybe more than 3 if you can find them. Find them on the server, go into the Play Test Your Game channel and watch them play, or show them to friends or family, whatever you want to do. And then after 2 or 3 people have played it, you can probably see a pattern. People will probably tell you, I like it this way or I like it that way. And even if they don't all agree, maybe 2 people like it one way and 1 person likes it the other way, with 3 people, there's enough that hopefully you won't have a tie. And that's generally a good enough answer to that question. What do you guys think about that?
Oh, I'm in agreement. So I think that it definitely is pertaining to the type of game that you're creating. But yeah.
Cool. Well, other than that, though, I think this game has been developing really nicely. There's just a ton of great detail in it. But yeah, what we said earlier is I do think the game starts off not too easy, because easy is great, but it starts off maybe too slow and just a little too lifeless. It gets really good, but I think the first impression of the game is that it's kind of sleepy and kind of slow paced, and that might turn people off. So I don't want to make the game more difficult, but I do want to make it a little bit more interesting and lively for the first level or so. Cool. Well, that is Astro Academy for today. Toxic, no pressure as always, but are you going to be sticking around to playtest any more games?
Oh yeah, I'll be in. I got to take a break like usual, but I'll go over to the lounge, and if anybody else needs some playtesting done, I'm always happy to do so.
Great. So please avail yourselves, guys. Toxic is an expert playtester. He will give you great feedback. I strongly advise you take him up on his offer. And thank you, Toxic. Thanks as always, Pika P, for adding some semblance of professionalism to this ridiculous show that we call Office Hours. And thanks to all of you for sharing your games. They're really good. I am still playing this game because it's actually pretty fun. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Just to recap, Astro Academy is not officially over yet. We're going to go through the end of the week, and then next week we will look at your games in more detail. So please try to get your games done this week, and next week we'll review the games and tell you more about graduation and all that. Also, thanks to the patient people from Season 2 of Astro Academy, we're going to do graduation for 2 and 3 at the same time. We, of course, have not forgotten about you guys. It's just been a lot of stuff happening at the same time. So thanks for your patience, guys.
Have a good day, Alex.
Yep, you too. And again, office hours will continue if Toxic
Hi.
is around to help you guys out. So thanks, everybody.
Alrighty. Take
See ya.
care.
Hello.